Hey folks, it's Julie, and I'm on to do a tag called hashtag Back to School Tarot. And this is from Amy over at Strength Reversed. And I cannot believe the kiddos are already back to school. And fun fact, I used to teach. I taught college composition and literature courses. I also tutored middle school and high school kids. And I'm not going to lie, I do not miss those days. I did go on to then develop online curriculum, which was definitely more of my cup of tea. It was just a better fit job wise. I was just very bad at time management and work life balance when I did the in classroom teaching. It just very quickly became evident that this was not a long term career trajectory for me. And I just give all the teachers out there so many flowers for the hard work that they do. Anyway, this tag seemed like a fun one to do. And Amy said that we could either focus on a card from any deck, or we could focus on the deck as a whole, whatever we wanted to do. So I'm going to mix it up. Prompt number 1 is first day of school. Pick a card that reflects how you're feeling about the upcoming session or new beginnings in your tarot practice. So I'm going to amend this a little bit when it comes to my tarot practice. I chose the 8 of Coins, and this is from a Korean deck that is out of print, and it translates to Tarot of the Heart. And the reason I chose this card specifically from this deck is because, the 8 of Coins can be interpreted as continued practice and honing in on craft and just slow, steady progression. And that is, in fact, what I would like to do with my practice of reading Marseille and Pip decks. I'll go ahead and show some cards. So I have done some study of reading Marseille and Pip decks, and I have last time I counted, I think it was like around 6 Pip decks. So not nearly as many as I have of fully illustrated decks. And so while this isn't necessarily like a new beginning of a tarot study, it's more of just advancing and further progressing in my comfort with Marseille and Pip decks. Just recently, through one of Marlena's videos, she had mentioned Mariana was doing some Marseille videos on her new channel, which is called Happening by Chance. And so I went over and checked it out. And I think she only has 2 so far in her series, but I just really enjoyed them and the way that she talked about reading Marseille and Pip decks, just the way she just delivered her method and the way she explained and illustrated. It was just so much fun to see, and it really clicked with me very easily. And so it got me excited to work with and practice with Marseille and Pip. Number 2, Teacher's Pet. Which card are you happy to see anytime it pops up? And I had another card in mind, but I want to use that for a different prompt, although that one also is maybe one that would be a common consideration, and this one too. But I went ahead and chose the Sun card, and this is from the Grimalkin's Curious Cats Tarot by MJ Cullinane. I mean, come on, what is not to like about this card in particular? In this specific depiction, you have a cat perfectly at peace and content and happy, staring up at the sun. All the doves, the butterfly, the flowers, both visually and in meaning, it makes me happy. It brightens my mood. Number 3, Professor, a card that embodies someone or something that taught you an unforgettable tarot lesson. So I'm going to break the rules a little bit and actually show you a Lenormand deck. This is from Logan Townsend over at Larkin Legend, and this is their Black Salt Lenormand. And the reason I chose this deck is because, the lesson learned with this is one that I can also apply to tarot, which is that I was using this deck for a reading. And when I did my 3-card spread, I just looked at it and I had this feeling come over me. And it's hard to articulate, but it was just this distinct feeling of, I think that I really should be doing this over. I should be putting the cards back, reshuffling, and pulling another set of 3. Lo and behold, when I did, the reading was very crystal clear. And it's not even a circumstance of like, oh, I don't get it. Because certainly I've had readings like that where it's like, okay, this doesn't resonate, or, based on the context of the reading that I'm doing and the query that I have, this is not really answering me clearly. It wasn't even anything like that. It was just, I don't know. I really truly don't know how to articulate it. It was just this feeling of like, yeah, I think I need to redo this. And and on the second reading, it's not like it was even like a favorable outcome, but it was the correct outcome, in terms of like, the potential result. It turned out to be quite accurate. And I knew as soon as I saw those 3 cards and I read them together, I was like, this is the message. Not to say that the first attempt was, air quotes, incorrect. I think a lot of us leaned into the idea that the cards are always correct and it's our interpretation that could be, off the mark. But yeah, that was my experience with this deck. And I feel like it's one that I'm going to also apply to tarot. So if there's ever a situation where this distinct feeling comes up for me, where I just have this sense that, okay, you know what? These cards are not the ones that I should be reading today, actually. I'm going to redo this. I'm going to redo this reading. Whenever I have that inclination, I'm going to honor that. And I will then, in fact, redo that reading or redo that draw. And to be clear, this is not one of those situations of like, oh, damn, I pulled the Tower card. Let me put that back in the deck so that I can get one that I like better. As a matter of fact, I really am stubborn about not doing that and keeping to the cards that I've pulled the first time around. So that was a very interesting lesson, an enlightening lesson. School crush. Which tarot card is obsessed with you right now? And that is super easy. It is the Lover's card. And this is from the Storyboard Tarot, which I've been using a majority of this month. And this has been popping up for me over and over as my card of the month. So this has become a routine where I pull, just using majors, a card at the beginning of each month. And I have gotten the Lover's card 3 times. So yeah, and after each month has passed, I have journaled, and it's been very interesting to reflect on the different ways that this has been expressed in that particular month. Also, it is one of my birth cards, so there is that. Number 5, Hall Pass. Which card has imagery that transports you to another place? And I chose specific cards from Tarot of the Guiding Muse, but that deck as a whole transports me to different places and actually has me assume different personas. So like, for instance, pirate, Emperor, master of my domain, a marathon runner, scientist, ballerina, painter, investigator, teacher, which I do have some experience with this, but it goes on and on. So yeah, this is a deck that not only invites me to tap into different facets of myself, but it definitely appeals to my, alternate universe identities where I could become the ballerina, I could become the pirate and be off on these fantastic adventures. It's an amazing deck. Number 6, Study Hall. Which card represents a tarot concept or lesson you're struggling with right now? So I am going to focus on another deck as a whole. And this, I guess it's like a tarot concept, and this is no surprise to those of you who have heard me lament about my struggles with astrology. And so I am choosing the Zodiac Tarot. Sorry for the glare. It's a shiny, glossy deck, but this is a deck that focuses on, astrology and layering that with the tarot. And astrology has always been a challenge. And I have, through study, been able to learn the basics and how these, different celestial bodies or, aspects, these concepts, they work together to create meaning. So from a base level, I understand the houses, I understand the zodiac and the planets, etc. It's just at this point down to like recall because I don't practice it enough and implement it enough in my practice. I don't retain it. And that's been for me the big struggle. And so also, as a Gemini, I go back and forth on whether I even want to incorporate astrology into my tarot practice. So, some days I feel like, yes, this is something that I want to explore. And then other days I don't feel compelled at all. But if anything, I do still, want to have a firm grasp on the basic knowledge, to the point where I actually remember it. And it's not always me starting over. Number 7, note passed in class. What card is a secret message from the universe you need to hear? And I chose this star card from the Cracked Amethyst Tarot. And that deck is one that I used for when I actually pulled this card. I pulled this in a 2-card reading problem solution spread that T. Susan Chang discusses in one of her tarot podcast videos. So I did that 2-card reading 2 different times, and both times, seriously, my reaction was like, holy shit, wow. So it is an uplifting card. So whenever I see it, it does feel more encouraging. But at the same time, I just can't help but sometimes roll my eyes, almost like feeling as if it's like delusional optimism or something. I'm not sure. But anyway, but this is definitely a message that I can and should lean into. Number 8, pop quiz. Pick a card that always puts you on the spot, something that challenges you to trust your instincts. And I'm going to go with another deck for this one. And my choice is Tarot of Mystical Moments, another shiny, glossy deck. So I have talked before about how this deck is like a high priestess deck for me. It gives me that type of energy. And so, while certainly I have a wonderful time working with this deck, there is that element of like mystery. She's a little bit enigmatic, and just the whole idea of high priestess energy. That does encourage you to lean into your intuition. And so, when I've had readings with this deck, it definitely has the kind of the vibe of like, okay, here we are. I know what's going on, but I want to get your take. What are your thoughts? So in that way, I do feel like this is a deck that definitely invites me and almost like forces me to rely more on my instincts and my intuition. Number 9, honor roll. Choose a card that you understand and just get. So I will be talking about another deck, and this is going to be Oracle this time instead of Tarot, and one that you're probably sick of hearing me talk about. But it is an anchor deck for me. It is one of my top oracles, and that is Wisdom of the Wild Things. So not only did I feel like I had instant connections with these different creatures and characters depicted, but just out of the gate, the key phrases used in these cards were ones that resonated with me immediately. Um, and then on top of that, not only did I feel like I understood this deck very intuitively and without any labor at all, but like this deck understands me. This deck gets me, and every time I've used it, it has met me where I am and has been such a pivotal deck. And even though I'm able to take these key terms and phrases and find meaning immediately upon seeing the card, the guidebook is not to be underestimated. If you are interested in this deck and you end up getting it, do not bypass the guidebook. It is an absolute treasure, so well written. Final prompt, backpack. If you could carry only one tarot card in your backpack for the year ahead, what would it be? And I chose from the Tarot of the Guiding Muse again, and my choices, the Nine of Coins. This is definitely something that I want to manifest in the year ahead. This energy of accomplishment and abundance and contentment. That would be amazing. Because right now, like emotionally, 2025, this has not been the vibe. And I would very, very much like for it to be. And that concludes this tag. Thanks so much for hanging out with me for this one, and I will catch you in the next video. Take care.